While the HIV and the AIDS Day, 40 years after the HIV pandemic broke out, President Uhuru Kenyatta says his administration has made tremendous steps in the fight against the virus. Lookup TV visited one of the champions leading the fight against HIV-related stigma and captured his story in this report.
Susan Wairimu was working in Sudan when she started ailing, and when she returned to Kenya, she discovered that she had contracted HIV and AIDS. When I visit Susan at her home in Kitengela, she tells me that she started falling sick regularly, and she eventually decided to travel back home, where she visited a VCT center and got tested for HIV.
So I called my sisters. I remember the first time, it was on a Monday. First I went alone to a private hospital. On reaching there, I changed my mind. I came back home. You know, there's that fear, however much strong you are. So when I came home that Tuesday, I got so sick I couldn't get out of the bed. So now I got scared and told myself I have to test. So on Wednesday morning, I called my two sisters. We are three of us. I told them to meet Pali Flani, Hospital Flani. I want to test. They were like, no. I'm like, we have to. Because we can't be sitting there and I don't know. And you know, I used to have these persistent ulcers. So I was actually scared maybe niko na cancer ya tumbo or something. So I went, I didn't even go to get consultation. I just went and asked them, I want to test HIV, how much? Then they looked at me. I said, yeah, how much is it? I paid for it. They took me to the lab. They normally tell you like how to like read the results. They take you through that. Then I went in with one sister. The other one was scared. So when I went inside, they took the blood, you know, for the few minutes. We are waiting for the results. They'll ask you questions and they're like, now can we read? Nikona line ya kwanza juu na line ya kwanza chini. And that was it.
By just looking at her, one cannot tell that Susan is living with the HIV virus, and she explains to me that her great shape comes from her acceptance and positivity when she realized that she could live a long, healthy life in spite of HIV and AIDS.
Like most people will fight and shout and, you know, the shock, yes, the denial. I was like, it's okay. Then he asked me, when do you want to start your meds? I'm like, right now. As I said, self-love is important, and it's the reason I'm here today. I love myself, so I didn't want to see myself in that situation, like people coming to see me in the hospital at home because I'm so sickly and worn out. I didn't want that. So me, I told him I just want to take my meds right now. So from there I started my meds. Then after a month, somebody transferred me to LVCT, that is in Hurlingham. And they worked with me. Within 6 months, I'd reached undetectable level.
By following a routine of taking her medication and proper diet, Susan has managed to stay on top of her viral load and to live a happy, robust life, something that has encouraged her to help others living with HIV and AIDS find their sweet spot in life. Through her social media pages, where she commands ample following, Susan consistently helps people living with the virus to overcome stigma and hopelessness and live fuller lives, saving lives in the process.
And it also helped my sisters, because before they wouldn't have employed a nanny who's HIV positive, but now they do. Because they understand and they make sure, like my follower, there's a one time she employed a nanny who's like me.
Today, the world marks the day for HIV and AIDS as Kenya celebrates milestones in accessibility to antiretroviral drugs and public education to kill stigma attached to HIV and AIDS. However, Susan explains that there still are problems and deep-running challenges in the war against stigma and the HIV and AIDS virus, and the government is largely to blame.
So when Chemonics brought the drugs at the port, KEMSA and KRA imposed taxes on the drugs. Me, I've never had drugs that are supposed to be free to help people being imposed taxes on them. So they do that because KEMSA is pushing for that. They should be the ones distributing the drugs. So there was a tussle. And you know, the most shameful thing is even those people up there, they have HIV, but nobody said anything about it. Nobody. The drugs, they were stuck there. Una imagine afadhali mimi nikose drugs na Verapin for the kids who are born by positive mothers. You know, it helps them not to contract the virus, because nowadays we breastfeed 6 months exclusively. You don't even that humanity that these kids might be exposed because you want to fulfill your stomach.
Earlier this month, the network of people living with HIV and AIDS in Kenya held protests in Nairobi to complain about the lack of reagents and other equipment required to keep track of viral loads in people living with the virus.
We are here today to advocate for viral load testing to basically be available. Viral load testing is basically knowing the level of virus in your blood, and since January this year, it has not been available. It is what actually monitors us when we are taking ARVs to know whether they are working or not, to know whether our treatment is responding or not. And so far, it has not yet been done. Since January this year, we're in November, the government keeps saying that there is a shortage of test kits, and we are here to call out government to ensure that our viral load is tested and ARVs for children are made available.
And we are here demanding the Ministry of Health, because ndio iko na hiyo jukumu ya kutuhakikishia kwamba tupatiwe dawa. Tuna demand watupatie dawa zetu.
We still risk missing the target to aid AIDS pandemic by 2030.
At the event to commemorate the World HIV and AIDS Day in the city of Nakuru today, President Uhuru Kenyatta said his administration had made big steps in the fight against HIV and AIDS, saying the levels of infection have dropped by 68% in 8 years. As she continues to preach positivity and hope to people living with HIV and AIDS, Susan has the following message to those Kenyans.
I want to tell people living with HIV, there is life after testing. You're not going to die. It's not a big deal anymore. It's about self-acceptance. So I just want to tell you, if you're out there and you've tested positive, kindly just accept your status and, take your meds and just move along. Avoid any negative energy or negative people with negative vibes around you.
Waris Kimathi, Lookup TV in Nairobi.